Hi, I'm Lenora Bresler. Welcome to the March 9th, 2017 edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details. Well, today I am wearing black. I will be attending in just a few moments a funeral. As a matter of fact, I've been asked to sing Graveside. It was a dear lady, definitely a Christian saint, I would dare say. 98 years old, good full long life, did great things. I was telling her niece that I have no doubt, because of the way she loved the Jewish people, that the patriarchs themselves were lined up at the gates of heaven to greet her on her homecoming. You know, every time I attend a Christian funeral, I always kind of wonder whether I should be wearing black, because if we truly believe what we claim, then we know that for the deceased person, today is not a day of sadness, but rather it's a day of glory and celebration and a kind of partying that we here on earth really cannot even grasp. Because think about it, no matter how happy and exciting and good times you may be experiencing here on earth, there's always in the back of your mind the realization that, as the old saying goes, this too shall pass. There's always the understanding that the people that you're celebrating with may not be all together at the next celebration. And there's always the possibility of bad times coming and reversal of fortunes and poor health and broken relationships. We don't really know undiluted joy in this world. But people in heaven, they do, because they know that there will be no change in that ultimate degree of joy and security and peace and love. So why is it that if we believe and we are fully convinced that such is the truth, why is it that we still wear black even at Christian funerals? And of course, it's to show solidarity with the family. Because although all that I've just said is true of the deceased, it is not yet true of the family. And there is light that has gone out of the world for them in the departure of their loved one. You know, it's the shortest verse in the Bible, but I think it's one of the most meaningful. All of the Gospels talk about the resurrection of Lazarus. And that famous two-word sentence, Jesus wept. You know, it's a very curious thing that Jesus would weep when he did, because think about it, especially on this side of the cross, we have no question. We know who Jesus was. We know Jesus was God. And we know from the gospel accounts that at the time he wept, he had every intention of raising Lazarus from the dead. He had had this plan for a couple days. Nothing was caught him unaware. And at the moment that he was weeping there by the tomb, he was literally within moments, maybe even less than a minute, of doing something that he knew he was going to do, knew he could, knew he was willing, and knew he was going to do, and that is raise Lazarus from the dead and put to an end this horrendous grief and mourning of his dear, dear friends. Why would he be weeping? You would think he'd just be getting on to business and getting Lazarus out of that tomb. He wept so that we would never think that he takes our suffering lightly. You know, sometimes when you're trying to comfort someone and you tell them the absolute truth, a spiritual truth that should help them, sometimes I think we worry that the person we're trying to help may feel like we are making light of their current suffering. And I've even heard people say, oh, don't preach at me, or, don't give me that Pollyanna, that doesn't help me now. Even if they truly believe all of it. Jesus did both. Did you notice? In the gospel accounts, he urged Martha and Mary, the sisters of Lazarus, to have faith in him and to remember that he is the resurrection and the life. to know that the brother that they loved would be resurrected. He taught them and spoke eloquently spiritual truth. But he also wept with them. You know, God does not ever make light of our upset. He never makes light of the problems that we face. Never. In fact, you know, he's going to wipe away every tear. That shows that he knows about the tears. So whenever you're going through anything that is difficult for you, including, of course, the thing that for most of us is the most difficult thing that we go through in this life, which is the loss of those we love, remember that Christ weeps along with us, even knowing that ultimately all will be well, even knowing that there is a bigger perspective and that things are not quite so bad as they ever seem, and yet he doesn't want us to think that he's uncaring or ungracious or unkind. He always recognizes the difficulties of this life. I'm Lenora Bresler. Visit me tomorrow on the next edition of The Bible, Delight in the Details.